God bless you greatly, beloved brother who listens to me. Friend, today I will share with you the testimony of a Dominican man who had an experience in hell. This man was an abuser until one day he died, and what he encountered was the reality of hell. Beloved, pay attention because he is going to describe what he experienced there, and stay until the end of this video. I'm from Peñón de Barona. I have a brother named Willie Segura, who is the youngest in the family. He converted to Christianity when he was very young. I visited the church when I was young, a little boy. I followed the girl around, but I was never interested. I just went a couple of times. I didn't like the evangelical church. For me, they were too loud, right? I was bound by Satan. I didn't want to know anything about God and nothing that had to do with worshipping God. But my brother embraced the gospel. Evangelical visited my mother's house, attended those services that the brothers held in their homes, and they came to my house a few times. My mum would pour her juice after the service, a toast to the brothers and sisters for their prayers. I would drink the juice. My mum was scolding me and she'd kick me. Then I started driving a motorcycle here in the capital. My mom and I took my wife to the countryside. I remember there was a campaign by Pastor Daniel Lopez's church in Peñón de Barona, and my brother Virgil Segura invited me and my wife to the service, but I didn't want to go. I don't like it. I didn't want to go to church, but it turns out my wife was Christian, but at that time she was deviant Christian, and had gone astray. When we go to the countryside she came to God. That's where a battle began. A tough battle began when we had to come back here, to Santo Domingo, and then she started attending a church, something I hated. That was the hard part. She could no longer accompany me to the places like bars and disco. I went out to work and came back. I asked a neighbor where my wife was. I learned she was near a church. I knew which church it was, and I went there. When I got there, she was already sitting in the second or third row of a pew. I went and pulled her back by her veil. I pulled my wife by her hair and I kept pulling her. I'd get arrested. Mistreatment of women if it happened now, but back then things were different. Men would beat women like it was nothing, a lot of punches and nothing would happen. A deacon was a leading officer of the church, and seeing my actions, the way I was aggressively acting, he wanted to stop me from taking her. I said to the deacon, "Do you want to join your master?" I unbutton my shirt and show him a 14-inch dagger I have. I say, "If you want to die today, you only stand in front of me and take my wife." He said, "No, she's your wife now." He told my wife, "Server, go in peace. We, the church, will be praying for you." I took my wife with me. We got to the house, and I bought a little bottle of beer, one of those little bottles they sold before and I started drinking it. I lived in a tiny room. I had everything there. That was just one room. I lived there with my partner. And there's a neighbor named Belky, who later converted to the gospel, but Belky was a fast-talking woman and drank a lot, and I remember we sat in front of my house. When I went in, my wife was there. I lied on the bed with her face forward. I was against the wall. She was further out. I felt her get up. While I was still asleep, I started to hear her praying, and she began to say, "Lord, I want you to save him, save him, oh Lord." She began to cry out to God. Even if those prayers bothered me, sleep was overcoming me, and I just fell asleep. I remember I was sleeping, lying on my back, and suddenly I felt a pain in my chest so strong that all I could do was grab my chest and I felt something detach from me. When I finally got up, when I turn over, man, I see my body lying there with my hand on my chest, my eyes rolled back and my mouth open. That's how my soul left my body. Man, my mind transforms into something. All my thoughts were overwhelmed, brother. I was transported. A screen that appeared in my mind. I was there watching that. I kept thinking something inside wasn't good. I didn't know what it was, but it wasn't good. I sensed that what was coming to me wasn't good. You have a problem. We're talking about you dying at that moment, brother. From then on, I watched on the screen the day I was born. I watched the whole tape of the movie of my life, from the moment they took me out of the maternity, from when I was 1 year and 8 months old. I watched things that have never been erased from my mind. It's like showing me everything I did in my life. I saw the sin I committed. Listen, how long the movie of my life lasted you may ask. I don't know how much time passed, for when your soul leaves your body, there is no time. Time doesn't exist, there's no time. You can't say that 3 hours have passed, there's no time there. You don't know if a minute, a second, an hour, a century has passed. When I saw all that, brother, a force grabbed me. Have you ever had a nightmare? Yes, a nightmare is a piece of cake in comparison to what people endure when they leave the body. Brother, listen to me, don't leave this earth without Christ, don't die without being a Christian, don't die with sins. I lived this myself, as one of the people who didn't want to know about the gospel. When this force grabbed me like that, it dragged me down, it took me away. If I tell you that I could distinguish what I was going through, I went down, man, as much as I wanted to ask for mercy and cry because I already knew where I was going. I knew it wasn't something good, there was no escape from what awaited me. I arrived at that place, my brother, down there in hell. It's like an oven, because in my field they used to make a charcoal kiln. I can describe something more or less similar where inside they leave a space where they put the fire to burn the wood. My eyes were already swollen from begging for mercy because I'm going to fall into hell. Brother, in hell there's an inner voice in you. It's like your conscience that tells you the place you're going to. It's your worst enemy, for it tells why you are there. Your worst enemy, your most aggressive thing there is that I understand that you have no escape from there. I knew that I wasn't going to get out. I had to beg for mercy. My eyes are so full of tears. I saw my wife that appears to me with my oldest daughter, Jennifer. She was about a year old, and my wife was in a ball of light, like crystal, and that voice told me, because she's a Christian and you're not, and I begged for mercy so many times, I sank to a level of hell I can't explain it to you. It was like the foot of a mountain, and the number of souls of people crying and begging for mercy that are passing by, you don't want to even imagine. I couldn't count. You can't count the number of people who pass by you entering that place, the crying that comes out of there. The largest crowds of people doesn't compare to the scream that comes out of that place, people lamenting, begging for mercy, for help. I was able to discover in that place that I mentioned in my testimony, everybody knew who was the Lord Jesus there. They know his presence, they realized that the one holding my hand was Jesus. As a result the scream multiplied I don't know how many times, begging for mercy. I couldn't see his face but I felt his hand holding me back so that I wouldn't enter that door. The force that came from inside of hell was incredible. You felt it, you were burning. I'm there and I see all the screams, the people who were passing by us to enter the gate of hell. They were bumping on another to enter the hellish gate. When they put their foot in gate of hell there was a lava higher than the top of the pipe, about halfway up the leg, a lava of an horrendous color. I don't know if it's gray, brown, or black. It's a color with strange components, and people would lift their foot from it hit and I saw nothing but bones. The flesh would dry out, like you have a jelly stuck to a ladle of something, and the empty base, like that. That's how the flesh of the legs fell. Crowds of people were walking on lava. When they lifted their feet again the flesh would come back. It was terrifying, like a magic trick, like a horror movie, and the flesh of the feet would come back again, and when they lifted it, it would come back again. The pain was immense, it was immense. The pain of those people was immense, begging for mercy. Listen, I'm telling you, the heat that comes out of there alone was beyond imagination. I was almost blind, just from the heat, yet I was standing at a distance. The heat blinds you, the heat burns your eyes completely. The heat that comes out of that place comes with a bad smell. If we gathered all the croaking in the universe and all the bad smells in the universe and combined them into a single bad smell, a single stench, it doesn't compare to that smell, it doesn't compare. In fact, if God allowed that bad smell to rise to the surface, more than a quarter of the people there would die instantly. I experience it. I lived through that, and I'm going to die telling the world, don't leave this earth without Christ, because you'll regret it. You won't have the opportunity or the chance to get out of there, unless you go through what happened to me. But that's not something you see every day. That's not something you see every day. Lord, I'm one of the blessed ones who was able to get out, who went there for a divine purpose and plan of God. I didn't ask for it, I didn't ask him, I didn't know him in that way. I was there for a while. I must have spent approximately 40 minutes watching that episode. As I said, time doesn't exist. About 40 minutes from here, like 30, 40 minutes from here, and I spent that time begging for mercy, pleading, imploring. You know who the only Lord is there in hell outside of this world, but the number of people passing through that door is endless. There were souls, bumping into each other to get in gate of hell because it was such a crowd, and you had to enter like in turn. Down there are chains that come out of there, they can't leave the door. Listen carefully, they can't leave the gate of hell because all these souls are controlled. Nobody controls his movement. These things chains have a life of their own, that are there to fulfill desires, a will. That's the only reason they come out. They pierce through souls, they ensnare them and pull them in like a snake, like a net. They take people inside. There's no way out. If I cross a little more, or if I loosen my grip a little more, and that chain traps me, there's no chance for me, brother. For me, I would have been in hell until today. I would have been with those lives there in hell until today if Jesus did not intervene. Wow, nobody told me that. I said, Lord, give me a chance. I'm going to serve you. Lord, please, take me out of here. That's what I was saying. Lord, take me out of here. Take me out of here. You depend on Jesus to take you out. You can hear the demons. You can hear the chain. You can hear the footsteps. And anyone that fall in hell, it would have been better off never having been born. Believe me, I got out of there begging for mercy. The hand grabs me, holds me like in a movie, pulls me back to the surface. Lord, the comedy. I'm giving you one last chance. The voice after you. I'm all ready. Look, I don't have the strength left to beg for mercy anymore. And listen to me, brother. If it were me, and the worst thing down there is your conscience is like a dagger. A sword that pierces your heart, that tells you, and you're never going to get out of here. This is your place. It will never happen. You're never going to get out of here. You're here because of this and because of this, because of all the things you did. He's here for fornication. He's here for adultery. He's here for sorcerer. He's here for witchcraft. He's here for this. He's here for that. Little brother, that never stops. I think that's what gives more strength to the voice than to what's accusing you. You hear it louder. When you try to cover your ears so you don't hear, you hear it louder. When he told me, I'm giving you one last chance, brother, I started climbing back up the same way I came down. I reached the surface. One thing, even though people say things, the earth is made up of layers. When you go down, when I get above the surface, that took me at a certain speed. I didn't go home. I went to a church.